Alright guys, what is up? So, right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the Plan D garage. That was already off. And we're going to go get some fuel lines made. Because I've never made fuel lines, I don't have a vise to properly make them and stuff, so I'm gonna go over there, get them to show me how it's done, so that I know in the future and so that I don't mess them up. Because last thing I'd want to do, it's kind of dark with it, last thing I'd want to do is mess up my fuel lines and have to reorder some more. So yeah, we're gonna hop on in the car, mosey on over there, and go get it done and see what Ryan's up to. So I'll catch up with you guys when we're over there. Alright, we made it. Plan D garage. Right. Yeah. Yeah. How's she looking?
You can see it's about halfway in.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Needs to be where it needs to go.
Yeah, so if you see inside this cap, there's a little bit of a lip where the hose is supposed to sit in. So Ryan's just trying to get it up against there, or else it won't properly seal, and then...
Well, it's not that it seals, it'll seal, it won't hold. So you blow it right off.
Yeah. And then fuel goes everywhere, and then fuel makes fire, and then fire burns your car down, and hopefully you don't die. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically the way this works is this jams up inside and pushes the hose out and jams it up against this. Yeah, right? Okay, yeah, that's right. So that's how that works. So that's what holds all the pressure and stops the line from falling off and killing everybody, especially in a Mustang. We don't want that luck.
Yeah.
We're already known as crowd surfers. We don't want to start.
Yeah, it'd look kind of bad if the car burst into flames.
Yeah, and caught some people on fire.
Yeah, you'd be kind of known as a dick.
Alright, so I'm back at home base. Showed you guys a little bit of what we did. We had to get to work though and start making them. So we made 3 lines. So here's one line. This line goes from the return, which is on the bottom, to the return line in the tank. This one, which we made, goes to the inlet to the supply line, which is also here. And then we made this long one that goes to the other side of the supply line, all the way and boom to the fuel rail. The only thing is, I need to go buy 2 more adapters from Mopac, because the way that the fuel rail works is that you need like this little nipple adapter, and it has like 2 O-rings, and you need to plug that in and then put the line on. So we have to go get that tomorrow morning. So because, oh, I gotta show you something else too. Ryan also gave us this awesome strut brace for the top of the car, because now that I don't have a sway bar, at least this will give it a little bit more rigidity. But it doesn't look like it's in great condition. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to paint it the blue of everything else. My iconic blue. So oh, I should probably close the garage door. So yeah, because we didn't really do much today, I'm gonna cut it over to tomorrow when we go pick up the parts and we do some more work on it because we gotta wake up early. It's just gonna be another one of those days of getting it going, just getting it done. So yeah, cut over to tomorrow. Alright guys, so today we gotta go to Langley to go pick up some fittings. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Okay, so we're back at home base. I went to Lorco to get one of the tools to take the fuel lines off, and I ran into Jacob. He was there getting paint for his wind deflector thing. I don't know how that works because I don't own convertibles, but we have all the fittings we need to run the fuel lines. So we have the tool, we have, I think this is the return, I think this is the pressure one that goes to it, and then we have a cap for the return because, I don't know if I showed you guys, but so the fuel pressure regulator already has a return, so there's no need for me to have a return here. So if I just plug this, then the fuel pressure regulator will return any fuel that it already that's already excessive, and then yeah, so if I just had that, it would be no point. I'd have to do work to get 2 return lines into that when this one wouldn't even be doing anything. So we're just gonna put the fitting on here, cap it off, and yeah. So right now I'm gonna plug in all the fuel lines so we can get ready to turn her over soon. So I'm gonna do that, and Jacob's gonna paint stuff. Oh, because he's trying to make this match, because this doesn't really match. It's like beige, his car's white and black, and yeah. And she has a face, but this headlight keeps dropping out. I mean, none of them are attached very well because I have to zap strap them in because all the clips are broken, but yeah. Look at my angle. Okay, I'm gonna get to work. Alright, so that's how it's going with Jacob's spray paint. Actually looks pretty good, I'm gonna be honest. A lot better than I thought. He's trying to grease his fork on his tranny because it's making some noise. We got this line on, it runs here. And because there's a lot of line, it has to come down here, back there, then loop around and come back. We have this one that goes straight down there, and this one that goes down there. So all the lines are hooked up. I'm just putting some oil in it, then I have to put some tranny oil in it, and then hook up the computer, and then we can turn it on and start checking signals on everything, make sure like we're getting signal to the starter. Oh, and then I had to put this in, which is my ignition control module. That would have been bad if I didn't put it in. I'm like, hey, why don't I have spark? And it was because of that. Yeah, so once the oil's in and stuff, I'm gonna go get the computer, plug it in over there, and then we should be, oh, then I gotta hook up the gauges so that I can make sure we have oil pressure, voltage, and the water temps working. So I gotta do that too. Okay, so now we have some oil in. So now what I'm gonna do, so my idea is I'm gonna run the gauges through here. The water temp gauge will come out of here, run along the fuel line, and connect at the end here. And for the oil pressure sensor, I'm gonna run it along the back, probably down underneath the exhaust, and then to the sensor, which is right there. So I need to drill some holes through the firewall in the back. So I'm gonna get to doing that. So because I want my gauges to sit on the top of where my switch panel will be, I'm gonna drill the holes on the top there so that they just run straight like that. So I gotta drill a hole, 2 holes about here and there so that the wires can fit through. And then from there, I can poke the wires through, run it through there, plug it in, and then without actually connecting it to my cluster, we can run the engine and make sure it has oil pressure and water temps. Alright, so I drilled the 2 holes. Now I'm going to get the gauges to make sure that the wires actually fit through. Okay, so for this gauge, this is a water temp gauge, and it has this connected to the end. You can't take it off. Well, you can take this fitting off, but you can't take this off. and that is too big for that hole. So I used a 3/8 drill bit. So I'm gonna go a little bit bigger so I can drill that through and try and get that big enough where I can just poke that guy right on through. Okay, so I finally made that hole big enough where the fitting could actually go through. So now that that's through, I need to cut some hose that I have and put it in here so that when this moves, it doesn't cut it. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, for some reason I'm not getting any water temps anymore. That's why. So might as well do that while the skin, while this like dash skin is off, so that it's easier to work with. So I'm gonna do that real quick, and then we can plug that in, and then so that this thing will show water temp. And that guy's over there. He's doing something. I don't know what he's doing. Probably plotting a conspiracy. I think he's a spy. Dun 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 dun. Alright, so this one is done. So it comes out through here. Whoop. Runs down along here. You can't even see it. And then bang, pops up. Plugs in right there. So the water temp gauge is now hooked up. So now when we run it, we'll put water in it and run it, it should give us a reading. So now we got to put the oil pressure gauge on. And I know the sensor is down there. So I have to go grab the gauge and start hooking it up and get it ready to be put on. Alright, so the oil pressure gauge is all hooked up. I'm going to go underneath the car and show you what I did. Alright, so this is the old oil pressure gauge, and for these cars, apparently these ones do only have an on and off. That's...
Yay. Be honest, have a real oil pressure gauge. Well, NA stuff for...
Yeah, but they run hot factory. Okay, so yeah, this is the old one. It's basically an on-off switch, so if it runs too hot, it just says it has no oil pressure. But we replaced it with this guy right here. That white stuff is thread sealer. Probably went a little too crazy on that, but I don't want it to leak. So put this first one in, which is actually a fitting to match this block. Then the actual pressure part, I guess. Actually, that's not the pressure part. The pressure part is in the gauge. This just goes into there. Then this cap has a little like a nut or like a nipple that slides in, so when you tighten this, it puts pressure on the hose and doesn't let it to slide out. Then it runs all the way along here, down under there. Over here by the dipstick tube. Then goes up there. Then it comes up here, you can see it through there, behind the block. And then, I don't know if you guys can see it. And then right there is where it enters the firewall. Then it comes in through there, hooks up to the gauge. So now when we run it, we should be able to see oil pressure. And we gotta make sure that these ends don't leak, or else we can get false readings. And there'll be oil everywhere. And yeah, so right now what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna go get the computer and hook it up, so that we can start testing to make sure stuff works. But we're not gonna start it.
Hey, Dish! Well, we're gonna start it.
No, not today.
Wait until you're gone, and I'm gonna turn that key. You better believe.
There's no key.
Press the button.
There's no button yet.
Flick the switch.
Alright, so the ECU is in. It's not mounted, but it's in. Everything else seems like it's in. So I guess this is the moment of truth. We're gonna connect the gauge right here, this gauge, and we're gonna give it power. We're gonna see if the fuel pump primes. So first thing that happened is the windshield wipers came on. Second thing that happened is I heard fluid come out. And it smells like gas. So let's see what happened. You know what? It's wet from right there. It's wet from these fittings. I don't think that fitting's pushed on right. Okay, so far, this fitting that I thought was supposed to be on the pressure hose isn't the right one. So I had to switch it because it was just puking fuel right there. So I switched it, but now because this one is too big, I don't have one on the return line. So I have to order a smaller fitting, the proper one for the return line, so that I can hook up that return line to that to the tank. So right now I'm just gonna adjust this because the gauge isn't showing any fuel pressure. So I'm gonna adjust it until I get about 35 and then leave it there. And then we'll hook it up to the scan tool and we'll start reading what codes that it's pulling up. So the codes will show what systems don't have anything plugged in or a complete circuit for the most part. So once I hook it up and I see, okay, it's got this code and that code, then I can find where it plugs in or find what's missing and then connect it to make sure that it works properly. But yeah, so far nothing caught on fire, nothing blew up, so far so good. Other than that fuel issue, but I mean, stuff's gonna happen, right? It's not gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be a one-shot try. So I'm gonna adjust that fuel pressure to make sure that we're actually getting pressure, because that would suck. So I'm gonna do that. All right, we're back. We have the piece, and now it's the moment of truth. Nah. Nope, it's not going in. Oh. So Jacob, you want to tell him? You want to tell him what's going on?
Okay, so Rome doesn't know how to research anything, and so it turns out that the what was it, 3/16?
No, 5/16.
5/16 hose does have a hard line. It's back in the car. Does have a hard line adapter, but the smaller, whatever, stupid
Quarter.
Quarter inch.
Is that not
1/4.
Smaller than?
It is smaller
Than 5/16.
So so the supply line is a 5/16, which is a smaller adapter that they made, which looks like this, which we went and got. So apparently I got two of the same.
Yeah.
And the return line on this car is a quarter, but they don't make a quarter, so we can't run an AN line to that. So what I'm gonna have to do now. What I have to do now is take this out, run the factory line back to here, and then plug the bottom of the fuel pressure regulator, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but it's like, it's just a pain in the ass. It just sucks. Yeah, so I'm gonna get going on that fuel stuff because I'm agitated. I've spent like 3 hours trying to do this, and but I'm just gonna get at it. Okay, so we fixed the fuel pressure regulator. It's holding pressure. Nothing seems to be leaking except this injector wasn't sitting in there properly. So I tried to fix it and it spewed gas everywhere. So now I can't figure out why it's not sitting properly. So we gotta take the upper intake off to get to the fuel rail and make sure everything's sitting properly. So when me and Steph pulled this out, we found out that this area right here was actually bent upwards somehow, which
wasn't right in the middle.
no, it wasn't in the middle, which explains a lot because I always had a constant misfire that I couldn't figure out, and it was probably because this injector wasn't seated right, so it wasn't spraying properly down in that cylinder. But yeah, so we basically had to take some water pump pliers and bend this straight. So now when we screw this in, it shouldn't leak anymore. But that is such a dumb problem to have.
You zoomed it on my face?
No, I focused.
Oh.
I didn't.
I thought you zoomed it on my face.
No.
Now he's gonna see it on your
Yeah, now
face.
it's just
No.
full off. It's all the time.
But yeah, so now we gotta
grab your
put
eyeball.
all the injectors in, like plug them in, put the wiring harness down there, and then put the upper intake on, and then we can connect the fuel lines again, run some pressure through, and watch and see if any of them leak again.
Where does that fit?
And then once that's done, then I think I'm gonna leave it for today.
Yeah.
Okay, so fuel rail is still bent, and the injector's making a lot of noise. I think it's fine, because it's not leaking visibly, because Rome hit it with a hammer a couple of times.
More than a couple.
A few. And Rome doesn't think it's fine, but he's been safe about literally nothing else, so I don't understand why this is the sticking point. We will hit it with a hammer a couple more times and see what happens.
So is it a no for shawarma then?
For what?
Shawarma? Steph?
Sorry?
Huh?
I'm not eating.
Oh,
What?
that's on fire.
Oh shit!
It's not on fire. It's not on fire. It's just smoking.
Oh god, is it the scan tool?
Something underneath there.
Gasoline, probably.
Could be the gas.
So the car caught fire. We're just trying to
like
diagnose
2 or
why
3
the car
times.
caught fire.
Tap it like 5 times real quick. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what seems to be the problem, Dr. Rome?
Do you want me to pull these wires?
No, it has nothing to do with the starter.
What is it?
It's my ignition control module. It's smoking right now.
Jesus.
Tap it. Tap it. Okay, stop.
Yeah.
Here, look. Bring the camera over here. Focus. Okay, tap it like 5 times.
Oh, would you look at that?
So it's shorted in that relay.
So we just continue shortening it out. I love it.
Yeah, for the camera. So that's what's catching fire. So I need to take that out and put the other one. So I have 2. So
Alright, that's good.
So I'm gonna have to do that.
For this reason specifically.
No, it was because I was having issues with spark before, but now it's a good thing I had 2 because now that one's catching on fire.
So does that mean we're done?
Yeah, it's late. I'm gonna call it a night here. So just hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and catch up with us on the next video
What about the bell?
so that we can finally get this car running. Peace out, guys.